All right. Hey, guys. Guy here. Niners and Saints just played their week 2 preseason game. And I watched it. And you may have too. Watch the Broncos today, by the way, too. Bo Nix. Yeah. It's looking good. All right. But a few things to talk about from the Niner game today. Some things not to talk about, by the way. Plenty of things happened in that game. Not worth talking about. But I thought a couple things stood out the most to me. One, we talked about last week, so we got to follow up on that. But number two, if you've been watching for a few weeks, you know that I have been appalled by the 49ers receiver situation without Brandon Aiyuk around. And it's not that it's a situation that is appalling on September 8th or whenever the opener is, but in terms of watching them practice, it's not been easy. Because Ricky Pearsall has barely been around. When he was around, for me, he was the most interesting thing at 49ers practice. And Jacob Cowing was not around. And Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing are not running a race against each other necessarily. They were both, especially Pearsall, obviously drafted high enough that, even if things didn't go great, he's not going anywhere. And I think you could say the same for Jacob Cowing, who was a 4th-round pick, that at a point in time, he was trending towards starting the season on IR, maybe. That's not the case now. I think tonight, and I know some of you are going to go like, oh, that's easy. But I don't think it's easy when you have the amount of equity for whatever reason built up. But I think he passed Trent Taylor. He was going to be on the team. The only question to me was, were they going to IR Jacob Cowing? But he's just putting himself on the team now. Definitely, he's putting himself on the 53-man roster to start the year. Whether or not he's on the 46-man roster, I don't know. But he's putting himself on the 53-man roster. Today was, and I said it early. Oh, I said it early. I was texting early. That he just has to not. They're putting him back there in punt return. They're putting him in situations on offense. He just had to not fumble, muff, drop, be in the right place at the right time. And he repeatedly was. Jacob Cowing, to me, was one of the big headlines coming out of the game. He doesn't just look like a depth piece. He looks like he has the potential to be useful for them. Now, I guess I should amend that. He has the look of a guy that could be useful to them, ... as a depth piece, but a depth piece that contributes, right? Like what Ray McDonald, like someone's got to fill that spot, or Ray McLeod. Somebody's got to fill that spot. And now it's Pearsall, who looked like he had the lead on Cowing as the rookie that'll catch the most passes this year. And it's like, it's a long race. It's a long race. And now Pearsall's got to prove that he can prove he can be on the field. He's just got to get back to the field. And, there were a lot of people actually after the draft who thought that Jacob Cowing was the better pick than Ricky Pearsall, definitely from a value standpoint. But put that aside for a second. I think even value aside, because Ricky was, even they would acknowledge, overdrafted. They try to trade out of the spot. But even with the value sliding scale aside, I think there were people that felt like, no, Jacob Cowing's going to have a bigger impact this year. And Pearsall's now on his second injury, basically his third. Is the shoulder twice. So we don't know when he's going to be back. The Niners will have a couple open practices this week. They'll play the Raiders on Friday, so a short week. So I don't know if Pearsall's going to be back this week. And if he's not, it's only better for Cowing, because Cowing looked really good today. Cowing, I don't want to say burst onto the scene, but that's who had been practicing for 3-4 weeks when that wasn't the case. He had not been practicing for 3 or 4 weeks. I don't ever look at the stats on these preseason games. I don't think I even pulled up the stats last week, but 4 for 51 receiving and the end around for 19 yards. And the really nice catch. I mean, if you are a preseason football aficionado, a historian of preseason football, you would equate that Dobbs to Cowing connection to the great pass of the preseason of 2023 when Sam Darnold hit Ronnie Bell down the right sideline on a go ball. That's reminiscent of one of those great moments, I mean, Danny Gray's fast, wins no 50-50 balls. None. It struggles with the 55-45 balls. Maybe Cowing could be a guy that opens up the offense a little bit. Could do some of the Debo stuff maybe on the end. He's not Debo, but do some of that stuff. He was a pretty good yak guy for his size. I think about the receivers the Niners have gone in on, the young receivers that Niners have tried to go in on the last few years, and Danny Gray being one, Ronnie Bell being another. And I think what's interesting about Jacob Cowing is he is a very productive college player with some attributes that 5-year guys don't always necessarily have. Like, he's got the benefits of over 300 catches, 4,500 college yards, 34 college touchdowns in 5 years. But he's got a plus skill, which is he's fast, right? He's speedy, he's twitchy. He looks much better, much more dynamic, much more useful on offense than Trent Taylor, which means as long as he doesn't screw up special teams, which is where Trent Taylor kind of has the advantage on a lot of people just because he can catch punts and he's trustworthy in that regard. As long as Cowing doesn't screw that up, you saw tonight, he's just more useful on special teams. Trent Taylor's not getting open. Trent Taylor had the chance to make a nice catch, a ball that hit him in the hands in the end zone, didn't catch it. So, here's Cowing, who played 3 years at UTEP, played 2 years at Arizona. You compare his production, like he's a production guy with a plus skill. That's useful. Like, to me, players, it doesn't always work this way. You can kind of, build whatever narrative you want because so many guys have different paths to pro sports. But I don't know. He's kind of very, very, it's a light kind of. I was thinking about him and Bo Nix tonight, just because Bo Nix, back in his early career at Auburn, was really uptight, put a lot of pressure on himself. His first year at Oregon, the same deal. He was very uptight, put a lot of pressure on himself. They worked really hard at Oregon, Dan Lanning and Will Stein, the offensive coordinator, to get Bo to relax and to have fun and to be one of the guys and to be, just like be a teammate and be a leader and be engaged. And I was watching some of the Broncos tonight too, when he's out there smiling and laughing, having a good time. He's playing for Sean Payton. He's not playing for some slappy. Like, he's playing for Sean Payton, who is a very hard-nosed coach, right? The modern Parcells. And it was just, to me, such an example of how experience and trials and tribulations and all that sort of stuff. No one ever says tribulation. I've been going through some tribulations lately. But how it can just help you be ready for a moment. Now, some guys have a lot of that in their past, but maybe they just don't have a plus skill, right? It only takes you so far. Bo Nix has a plus skill, has a few of them. Jacob Cowing, this guy who played 3 years at UTEP, then goes to Arizona. He moves from Conference USA to the Pac-12, and his production goes up. His last 2 years at Arizona, the numbers were off the charts. Though he played in a big offense and Jed Fish, and but he was on the field last year at Arizona with 2 other really good receivers, and he still was 2 years ago, actually, both years. There's a guy at Arizona who Jacob Cowing played with named Tetaroa McMillan, who's going to be a first-round receiver next year. And Cowing still put up huge numbers. So they took him from a place where he was a big fish in a small pond, and they put him in a bigger pond. And guess what Cowing did? He got bigger, and he got the bright lights. It translated for him. And you look at a guy like Ronnie Bell, who also has some plus traits. And I'm not saying he's not. I don't want to. You can almost overdo it on the narrative here, so I don't want to overdo it on the narrative. But like Cowing, they both played 5 years. Cowing had more than twice as many catches, not more than twice as many yards, twice as many yards, about 3 times as many touchdowns. So we're talking about a much more productive player. And today, against the Saints, when I watched Jacob Cowing, I just saw a guy who immediately looked like he belonged. Now, maybe it's because he's out there wearing 83. Is that young Willie Snead? But he immediately looked like he belonged, right? Danny Gray, actually, when you go back and look at Danny, was pretty productive. He was a Blinn College, junior college guy, sophomore year, put up good numbers, goes to SMU, air raid offense, but he put up 15 touchdowns in 2 years. He was 15 yards a catch. So that just hasn't translated. But Still a long way to go. It's not Pearsall or Cowing, but Cowing's not going to get taller, right? There are just some fundamental limitations. But the beauty of him in this offense is that he just has to fit in as a piece. And I think he can. I think some of the things that I thought were positives for Ricky Pearsall to step in and contribute, that it was a good route runner and that he had good hands, right place, right time, reliable, those sorts of things. I think Cowing does some of that stuff. And you saw it today. He was just this guy who's practiced for a week, ready to go. Ready to go. Did not look like a guy who's only practiced for a week. He was a week and a half. But he was ready to go. So I thought that was a very, 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 very positive development for the 49ers. Let's update what that receiver depth chart kind of looks like, what that group looks like. Aiyuk, Debo Jennings. Let's keep Aiyuk there. And, 2 weeks ago when we did this exercise, it was Ricky Pearsall and Trent Taylor and Chris Conley, probably, or Ronnie Bell and Chris Conley, something like that. We'll see if Pearsall might be the IR guy. I have a hard time. They were ready to do it. They were positioned to do it because they drafted 2 receivers. But they don't feel like the kind of team that wants to have 2 rookie receivers among like the 6 on the 53. It's not necessarily Shanahan's style. Feels like he kind of likes Cowing and trusts Cowing and puts him back there on punt return, wants to see if he can do it. He started today. So I think Kyle, maybe because he's a 5th-year guy, he just comes in ready. I think Kyle Shanahan kind of likes Jacob Cowing. I think he kind of likes him. So right now it feels like Aiyuk, Debo Jennings, Conley, Cowing. That's 5. Trent Taylor on, practice squad or whatever. But Ronnie Bell, I don't know. Yeah, then Ronnie Bell maybe. If you need a 6th, it's Ronnie Bell. Aiyuk, Debo Jennings is 3. Cowing, Conley is 4 and 5. Pearsall's in that mix too if he's not on IR. But I wonder if they might just try and IR him. I said this when he got hurt, and I don't think it's just BS because you can IR 2 guys this year. It's a new rule in the NFL. You can put them on IR immediately. You can basically stash 2 players coming out of camp. I don't think it'd be BS on Pearsall because Pearsall had a shoulder injury in minicamp, comes back from it, and then a week and a half into practice re-aggravates the shoulder blocking. My initial reaction was, if it's a re-aggravation, then you don't want to rush him back. You don't want to rush him back and have it happen again and then really derail his rookie year. So, there'll be some question whether or not he returns this week, working out on the side, that sort of thing. The Cowing emergence to me means they can slow play a little bit because they kind of need to start. They'll need to put a receiver probably in one of those IR starts. So there's really no reason to rush Pearsall other than he's your 1st-round pick and you think he's good and he needs to get on the field. But other than that, no real reason to rush him. So I think that's thing number 1 on Jacob Cowing. Number 2, this was also positive. I want, Purdy's kind of always number 1, but I'm not going Purdy number 1 here. Number 2 is Dominick Puni. He was good. He's the starting right guard. Now, keep in mind, number 2 competitor and number 3 competitor for right guard, they still haven't suited up in a preseason game yet. So you could say he really has the inside track, but he's not just going to be the starter by default. He just looks really good. He looked really good again today. Now we learned this last week. We got to do the rewatch when it comes to offensive line grading, but I already watched him twice by the time we're doing this Sunday night because I at one point in the 4th quarter, I just went back and rewatched the 1st and 2nd quarters on Puni. And because somebody said to me, they're like, Puni got shoved around. This is what's interesting about the Saints. The Saints played their dudes on defense, and the Saints have a good defense. The Saints are a good defense, and they played their guys. So the way he played in the first, especially the first quarter of this game, does matter because that was real. Those were real NFL. That was a real NFL defense on the field to start this game. And somebody sent me a message. They said Puni got shoved around when Purdy was out there. I don't think he did. Now I just sped watched it on the game copy. So I've watched him twice tonight, but I did not see any plays where Puni got shoved around. So that's I don't think that's correct. If there was a play where it happened, point me towards it, and I'll go look at it. I posted a video which you can go see on Instagram or X. I don't have the play number here, but basically him and McKivitz, it's a 3rd and goal play. It's right before the half. It's a 3rd down right before the half where he helps McKivitz out. People are giving McKivitz a lot of shit. Puni steps on his foot, so McKivitz kind of gets stuck in Colton's defense. Puni looks for somebody else to block and then spins over his left shoulder, turns back to turn back around and block Dobbs' front side and help McKivitz out. So I would go watch that play, check it out. But the reason I mention it is because Josh Norris from Underdog wrote this. It's no coincidence that Kyle Shanahan drafted 2 offensive linemen and signed another who cleared the 4.47 shuttle threshold. The list rarely misses, Jarrett Kingston being the other. Norris goes on, 5 of the 6 offensive line prospects who hit a 4.47 shuttle at the combine were drafted in this draft. Puni, Kingston. The Colts took Tanner Bortoloni in the 4th round, Dylan McMahon by the Eagles in the 6th, Mason McCormick Steelers in the 4th. But he's got this whole analysis here. Where did this go? Since 2010, just 28 offensive linemen recorded a 4.47 short shuttle or better at the combine. 28 recorded it. 24 were drafted. Those 24 went on to start 84% of their NFL games. And if you go back and watch that clip, what you see is not just awareness from Puni, but you see a guy moving pretty athletically in a tough spot. His brain is clearly moving very fast in the same way that you watch Cowing and you're like, oh, it's all moving fine for him. It's not the game's not moving too quickly for him. His brain is moving the proper speed, and it's not moving too quickly. You say the same thing about Puni. So I thought Puni looked solid plus tonight. I thought he looked really good. You feel good about him at right guard. Better him at right guard than some other spots, really, which we saw come up a few times in the game because Brock Purdy was out there for 3 series, 11 snaps, with Jalen Moore at left tackle and Nick Zakelj at left guard. He did have 3/5 of the starting offensive line, but he did not have starting receivers. And it was messy. No Aaron Banks, broken finger. No Trent Williams. Unrelated to the offense, the defense was down 8 starters. Nick Bosa didn't play. Fred Warner didn't play. Mooney Ward didn't play. Amador Lenore didn't play. Hargrave, Floyd, Malik Collins, D. Winters, who was hurt. That's not a starter, didn't play. Devondre Campbell did play, and I thought was good. But, here's the thing about Purdy in the preseason. Some guys are better at pickup basketball than structured basketball. And some guys are better at structured basketball. There are some guys who play in the NBA who wouldn't be as good in a pickup game. And there are some guys who are better than an NBA player, maybe at some of the things that make you good at pickup basketball, but aren't as good at the things that require you to be a part of a team. I think Purdy's kind of that way. Now, I know Purdy's got some of the gunslinger in him, blah, 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 but preseason football is just not when he's at his best. Because his mind is such a positive for him. He's at his best with a game plan. He's at his best when there's a real chess game going on, and his brain and Kyle Shanahan's brain together, when his processing comes into play. And that stuff doesn't matter as much in the preseason. So some of you who don't watch me every day are going to hear that and go, Purdy excuses. To you, I would say go back and watch the last video that I did, because some people watched that and was like, guy, I'm so disappointed that you agree with something Nick Wright said. So I feel pretty secure in saying that it's not some Brock Purdy empty defense. I mean, it's the preseason, first of all. He's got no starting receivers, and the left side of his line was not a starting line. So I guess if you wanted to make those excuses, you could. But it was messy, It was messy. I joked with John Dickinson. I texted him jokingly. I said, Kyle wants to find out if he's a $400 million quarterback and can carry this offense. But the truth is that it's just not everybody can kind of stand shoulder to shoulder with Kyle Shanahan at quarterback. Although the system does but it really does emphasize, can you process? Do you know what's happening out there? Can you solve problems? Do you see it? Do you see it quickly? And that's not what that was tonight. So, and it was against a good defense too, without starting receivers. Starting receivers matter. I jokingly posted a picture of people telling you about their social media post, by the way, is so lame. But to make the point, I will tell you about a social media post. A photo, you remember when Brandon Aiyuk did the thing with Jaden Daniels, in which he, was on FaceTime, was like, they don't want me. That photo with the quote, I thought it was supposed to be easy to get open in this offense, that anybody could do it. And of course, anybody can't do it, even in this offense. But especially when the starters, when it's not Debo, when it's not Jennings, it's not Kittle. I don't think that preseason game as it relates to Purdy means nothing to me. And I've begun to form that opinion that it's just not, it's not the environment where he's going to be at. Some quarterbacks are better in the preseason, and they're usually not the best quarterbacks in the league. That said, I do want to point something out, and this is not new information, I don't think, but I think we saw again, and the more we all watch him, the more we see that one of his moves is the roll left, juke and spin back so we can get turned around so he can throw down the field. And he made an insane decision today. And it's a decision that his arm, in a real game, we would be killing Purdy for that spin back throw all the way across the field. Now maybe he's throwing it to Kittle in a real game and it works, right? Or maybe he's throwing it to Aiyuk and it worked. He did it a lot and it worked last year. So he tried it. And I'm a little surprised that D linemen go for that move, but it's a credit to his athleticism. But it is an example, I think, of his arm. We talk about his arm. And somebody said to me the other day, well, Mahomes is throwing, I don't remember what the exact numbers were, but it was like, well, Mahomes throws 63 miles an hour and Purdy throws 55 miles an hour. It's pretty close. And Josh Duval sent me a message. He's like, no, it's not. That's like a guy throwing 98 and a guy throwing 90. Those are two very different things for pitchers. Like those things are not close. They sound kind of close, but they're not close. And I do think that we see in that move kind of now on that particular play, I don't want to harp on this play because it's not really some big picture thing, but on that particular play, maybe he had no one he could throw to his left. So in order to turn right, he had to turn all the way back around. But I just wonder, I thought that from the jump, like, I don't know, guys are going to figure out that move, and they don't. Like, it keeps working. Because they're playing in a real game and he can go left or go right. And sometimes he goes left. Sometimes he goes right. So it's a credit to him. But that was a dangerous decision. A better arm, the ball might get there. Better arm, the ball might get picked. I don't know. But anyway, not a lot to take out of this game for Purdy. Other than the other thing I'll say is it felt a little nuts that he was out there without his starting receivers. Now you might be like, well, Kyle, you got to protect him. Where's his O-line? It's like, that's kind of their O-line right now. Those are the guys they got. If they had to play a game tomorrow, that's their line. So, the left side of it, you need Trent. Yeah. You need Aaron Banks. It's not great at the moment, and it felt a little wild. Just felt a little wild having him out there. He got pushed a couple times. He got pushed to the ground. Chase Young took a shot at him. Legit. He got hit a couple times where I'm like, I think that was the first series. That ball might have been the third down throw out of bounds. And the camera was showing the out of bounds play. I'm like, let's go back to the quarterback and make sure he got up. Did he get up? Okay, all right. We don't need kid gloves. He's an NFL. He's an NFL player. He got up. So yeah, there was that. Let's see. Cody Schrader on kickoff doesn't mean anything to me as it relates to Cody Schrader. Is interesting that Kyle had a running back there. I don't know if that actually matters, but my original theory was that running backs might be good in this new kickoff return. I can't tell you that I've been emboldened watching the dynamic kickoff return and that, it's really going to matter. I don't know. We'll see. But I just made a note of that he had a running back there. It happened to be Cody Schrader, but whatever on that. Safeties are out there running around. Jair Brown made a nice tackle for the TFL on a running back on the second possession. Malik Mustafa coming downhill. Brandon Allen versus Josh Dobbs. Good. That's a real competition. Joshua Dobbs looked good. I know he's on his fourth team in a year, but I mean, Minnesota might want him back now that JJ McCarthy's hurt. So I don't know if you're going to be able to keep all three of these guys if you make Brandon Allen QB2. If you make Dobbs QB2, then yeah, you could probably get Brandon Allen to practice squad. But I mean, the one that he can run around, which in a pinch, your quarterback's hurt, is pretty beneficial. So, no, I mean, that competition continues, I guess. Harvin, the punter, he was fantastic. He had 4 punts, all of them in the 20. Checked them up at the 4-yard line. Thought he was really good. Now Wisnowski was out there holding. He's got a knee thing. But the other guy looks good. And then we had I'll tell you what, man. One of my fun takes this year is that Moody's going to be better. That miss, maybe by the time the week comes, maybe we'll have an explanation for it. That was such a crazy miss. It was a wild miss. It was just straight right. He blocked it. If this was golf, he'd be like, I blocked it. If it was golf, you hit one right. Who cares? It's just so weird. He just drills kicks, and then he'll just hit one that you're like, what was that? Where did that even come from? How is that even possible? Are you the guy that set a Super Bowl record? How did you miss like that? I don't understand. It's just I'm too stupid when it comes to kicking mechanics to even begin. But an amateur would say, which I in this case am, an amateur would say he's got an inconsistent swing. I guess I don't know. It looked like the finish was weird. I don't know if he got spooked because there was pressure coming up the middle. Maybe that's what it was. But yeah. Question. Let's get to a couple. Let me catch up here on some comments. What happened to the white receiver we drafted in the first round? Where the hell is he? It's hurt. Comment on Moody. He's the guy that missed the PAT in the Super Bowl. That's not even I don't think it was a shank. It's just like I don't even know what. Hey, by the way, the Niners play the Raiders in less than a week. That game is in Vegas on Friday. If you are going, then you got to check out CIRCA Sportsbook. CIRCA Survivor, $10 million guaranteed to the winner or winners. You pick one game a week, no point spread. can only pick the same team once. Once you use a team, it's done. You're trying to go undefeated, or at least go undefeated as long as you can. Last year, 4 winners split the pot. That was over $9 million. This year, it's 10. There's also the CIRCA Million contest, $6 million in guaranteed prizes, $1 million to the winner. Weekly picks against the spread, 5 picks against the spread every week. There's prizes throughout the season as well. Last place gets $100,000. You go to CIRCA Sportsbook in Reno or in Vegas. If you're going to Vegas this week, you go to the CIRCA Sportsbook. Go check it out while you're there. Get signed up. You enter there. $1,000 each of these contests, either one. You don't have to play both, but you can. $1,000 to enter. That you sign up with a proxy there, and then you play from anywhere. CIRCAsports.com. Click on contest for more information on that. Meanwhile, the Cowboys undrafted free agent drilling 70-yarders. Question: did this game solidify Aiyuk's new contract? No, I don't think it did. But it does feel like, guys, hello? What are we doing here? My read on just the situation, both from what I've heard over the last few weeks, and I think there was some good reporting at the end of last week that had some hints in it about the APY needing to come up. I think the Niners, from a guarantee standpoint, have offered a pretty respectable contract. So why it's taking this long to hammer out the APY, if that's what the deal is, weird, but it does feel like it'd be a curveball at this point if suddenly we look up, and more of a curveball than it would have felt like 2 weeks ago. If suddenly we look up and, Brandon Aiyuk is running routes with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Comment: Kubiak should call more plays, or should call plays more. Kyle doesn't need to be calling plays and coaching. He just gets overwhelmed and decisions occur. I disagree. Kyle Shanahan should keep calling plays. It's part of what makes him worth being one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL. Hold on here. Let me get this comment up. Nope, don't want to block. Just want to put it up. From a 49er Tyrone, Latu, Bell, Gray, gone. Yeah, Latu's getting a lot of chances. I'm ready for some Mason Pline. Tonjes has been, I don't know that he blocks well enough. Eric Saubert's clearly tight end too. Everything that happens after that, it's Willis after that. I mean, it's Saubert and then Willis is tight end 3. I can't see Latu dressing on game day. Seems crazy to me. But, because you're not going to just 4 tight ends. But, they got to get Mason Pline coming along then. Mike says, I saw our defense get gashed again. The real X factor with this team is the defensive coordinator. It's Sorensen. He's one of the biggest X factors in the NFL. When you think about what were the X factors last year in winning the Super Bowl? Well, the Chiefs defensive coordinator turned out to be one of the most important people in the NFL, and they've got him back. And they had a lot of talent on that defense, but Steve Spagnuolo was one of the heroes on the team that won the championship. So coordinator matters, obviously. That makes the 49ers defensive coordinator one of the biggest X factors in the NFL. You're not really game planning today. I think there's been definitely some influence from some are calling him the shadow defensive coordinator, but I don't think he's quite a shadow defensive coordinator, just an idea sharer. But that other linebacker spot's interesting. Now, Campbell, I was kind of down on him last week back when I thought D. Winters played a great game, and then I rewatched the tape. He might just be professional enough. As long as your defensive line can stay healthy, especially your edge rushers, because you only have 2. Corners are good. Safety should be fine enough, especially if Hufanga gets back soon. But I think Odom and Brown, you can live with that. When you have three good corners, provided Yadam gets, Yadam's healthy when the season rolls around. But Lenore and Ward, you're fantastic. I mean, you still, even with some of their deficiencies, their imperfections, I'll put it as that on defense, you've got excellent players at every level. Pro bowlers, I think potentially 2 Pro Bowlers at corner, whether they'll both make the Pro Bowl's a separate thing. Obviously an all-pro on the edge in Bosa. Should have a Pro Bowler on your interior defensive line. And then I think, Jair Brown is good. Hufunga, we'll see with the health. But I think they're solid enough. The coordinator's the X factor. It's not to say they're perfect on defense. They're not. They have some deficiencies. But the coordinator's a big, big X factor. I'm scrolling back through some of your comments today. Guys, I got to tell you, by the way, as I'm looking through your comments, Bo Nix, man, he looked really good. He looked athletic. He looked under control. He just looked good. Denver kind of looks sweet. The uniforms look good. The matte blue helmets. And here's the other thing I got to tell you. I think the Raiders are coming. I think they're coming for that first pick next year. I think they're coming. Don't look now. Operation Rebuild. Operation Tank for Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck. Operation Dylan Gabriel. No, Dylan's gonna be really good. I went to an Oregon practice the other day. Dylan Gabriel looked awesome last Wednesday. He's not gonna be the first pick in the draft, or he's not gonna be a first round quarterback. But Raiders are coming. ... For that first pick, man. Just you can hate if you want. You can hate if you want, but you heard it here. They are coming for that first pick. We'll see. Battle of the Bay today in baseball. Battle of the Bay on Friday. Griffin says Renardo Green, 49ers rookie cornerback, has been getting a lot of love on the broadcast. Yeah, maybe the Niners have good depth at corner. He's really important. He's not important week 1. He's not important week 5. But him coming along, what are they going to do? They got to pay Diamador Lenore. They got to pay Mooney Ward. What are they going to do at corner next year? That's about the 20. We're here to talk about the 24 team. All right. The 25 team, that's a different group. And maybe they'll both be back. And maybe Debo won't be on the Niners because they got to pay Mooney Ward or something like that. But finding another corner. Now, when the Niners have found corners in the draft, it kind of feels like it takes a few years for them to be ready to play. But Renardo Green coming along. The thing about Green, if you've got Green and Lenore, you're pretty short at corner. But I don't know. Let's just see. Yadam's tall. Jacob Cowing is ice. Jacob Cowing is nice. Kane says, it's an interesting comment. He says, God, people put way too much stock into the preseason, asking did player A get the job over player B. Now, I don't know specifically who you're talking about, but I think there are definitely things that happen in the preseason that can be way overvalued. And then there are some things that there's always, especially on a good team, at least still a couple of spots where how you play matters. How you play for some guys really matters, right? How Ricky Pearsall plays, it doesn't really matter. He's a first round pick. He's making, nothing's happening. He's making the team. He's going to get a lot of chances. But for some other guys, for Cam Latu or for Jalen Graham, Darrell Luter, it does matter for some guys. So we're going to talk specifics. We could talk specifics, but I do think there are spots where you look at it and go, okay, that matters. Depth matters. Backups matter. You're not on a good team isn't deciding starters week 2 of the preseason necessarily, but I think maybe they already felt this way because he missed practice. I'd gotten to see him a lot, so maybe it's just me reacting this way. But Jacob Cowing was eye-opening. comment. Dobbs surprised me. I mean, I wouldn't ride a roller coaster on veteran backup quarterbacks, right? He's 29 years old. I think we've kind of seen what he is. He's not a starter. He can have good games. He'll also have bad games. On the balance, he'll have more bad games than good games if you overexpose him. I've mentioned this before, but I remember when I was covering the Oakland A's, doing their pre and post game show back in like 2013, 2014, I got introduced to this word, which was overexposure. The Oakland A's, and everybody was doing it too at the time, and even now, they platooned a lot of guys. And it's not a new idea, but they would have a guy who could only hit righties. So he only hit against righties. He was left-handed, he only hit against righties. That guy only hit lefties. So, and what would happen inevitably was some guy who could only hit lefties they'd like face 3 lefties in 6 days or something, right? And so he'd play in those 3 games. You go like 2 for 4, 3 for 5, 2 for 4. I'm not gonna do the math. Let's just say. So he's hitting like 640. And I was like, oh man, this guy's on. Should he play against a righty? It's like, oh yeah, well, he should play against a righty. 0 for 4. Let's try it again. He's still hitting 500 over the last 4 games. It's like, no. 1 for 4 with 3 Ks. Like, that's overexposure. And I think backup quarterbacks, once you've kind of established like they're not starter level consistent, they can be overexposed. So they gave you some flash plays, and it makes people go like, oh, wow, you could win a game with this guy. It's like, yeah, every backup quarterback in the league, you could win a game with. The problem becomes when you got to win 5 games. You got to play them for 2 months. And then they all kind of start looking the same, So the one thing with the Niners, their quarterback room is very smart, right? I know it gets said a lot, but it's true. Josh Dobbs is very smart. Brandon Allen is very smart. Brock is very smart. They've got I don't have Mordecai's wonder, like not that that's the thing anymore, but they're backups, whether it's Allen or Dobbs, like they're really sharp guys, right? Like those guys, if something were to happen to Brock on the second series, those guys are ready they could play right away. They know the game plan, right? You talk to quarterbacks who play for Kyle Shanahan, the mentally the mentally taxing part is the week. The week is very mentally taxing because of the volume of the game plan. By the time you get to the game, you've learned a lot of really difficult stuff. And those 2 guys, I think, appeal to Kyle in part because of that. But, Dobbs has played. He's been in the league since 2018. He's played 21 games. He started 14. He's 3-11. Now, he's played for some bad teams, but he's a 62% passer. He's a 15 touchdown, 13 pick. So, that's now maybe could be a little better with Kyle, but I don't know. I'm not riding that roller coaster. Robert asks, Guy, do you think Tanner Mordecai is a lock to be on some other team come week 1? No, the Niners might determine we're not going to keep both of these quarterbacks. We have to let one of them go, and they let Dobbs go, and then Mordecai is QB3. That could happen, although he played really well on Sunday, so they may decide to keep him around, but you can keep it's just a matter of it's a matter of keeping. It's not a matter of keeping 4. It's a matter of which number 2 are you keeping, and would somebody else pick up Dobbs? So Ryan asks, what do you think of Sorensen so far? I think he's the most important person from this offseason. Yeah, he's on the list of the most important people from this offseason. We got to see him in games. We got to see him in games. I think the other stuff he's got, I think he played. I think he's respected. I think he's a a good communicator. So I like him, but we got to see games. We got to see games. Comment, got to keep 4 quarterbacks so Kyle can keep blocking premium edge rushers with tight end 3. That's good. That's good. Yeah, that's good. I think we're getting close here, people. I think the day is nearly upon us for some hats. You can scan the QR code up in the corner of the screen, or just go to heyguy.co. You have to click the box that opts you in for marketing. I'm not sending you marketing, but you got to click the box that opts you in for marketing so that when hats do go on sale, you will be on the list and you will get them. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you'll get them. You'll have to ask. You'll have to act quickly. It was cool having the Kubiaks. Kyle called the first half. Kubiak called the second half. It was cool having the Kubiaks calling plays. The Shanahan tree was deep in it. Comment, Frank showed how much we need to get. Oh, tonight showed how much we need to get Trent signed ASAP. Yeah. All right. Okay, y'all. Well, that's I think that's what we got. Have a good week. Have a great week. We'll be here. We'll have more to talk about. Appreciate everybody. If you are listening to this podcast, by the way, on Apple, you can leave a 5-star on Spotify. Appreciate it. But if you're listening on Apple Podcast, leave a review. That really helps the show. 5 stars. Cost you nothing. And I mean, your time, which is valuable. So I appreciate if you use your time. And then YouTube. My brain, we're firing on all cylinders tonight. On YouTube, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. So, yeah, appreciate that. Eric asked, will you be able to ship hats to Canada? I don't know. That's a good question. That's a very good question. I don't have the answer for that. Hopefully I'll have the answer for that at some point, but I don't have the answer for that right now. Brandon says, go Texans. You know, Texans play Texans schedule. Let me get some little Texans schedule here. We're all interested. I'm interested in the Texans, man. How about Caleb Williams highlights? Woo! Caleb looks sweet. Texans go to the Colts week 1. Bears Sunday Night Football week 2 is Texans Bears. Yeah, that's a good Sunday night game. Texans play the Vikings, the Jags. Texans Bills week 5 is a good game. Texans Packers week 7. Texans have some that's also CBS. That's not a prime time. Texans Jets, I guess maybe, is interesting. Texans Sunday night again against the Lions. Texans Cowboys. Texans Dolphins. Texans Chiefs. Texans Ravens on Netflix Wednesday, Christmas Day. I got to tell you guys, we don't really talk about NFL schedules the way we talk about college schedules. I love the way we talk about college schedules as a big college football guy. Who's got a good schedule? They got a good. I mean, we talk about it kind of the last few years with the NFL rest days and that BS, but not BS, but but the Texans have a great schedule, like an excellent, entertaining schedule, and it's kind of middle backloaded, so they can kind of get off to a good start. Maybe get to be 4-0, going to Buffalo. Are they at home? Oh no, be 4-0, getting Buffalo at home. You beat Buffalo, maybe you're 6-0, you're 5-1, and then you got a Texans Packer game, or maybe those two teams are like 5-2, 6-1, 7-0. Yeah. Question: how about Jalen Graham? He made a great play tonight. Not just like you see some of these plays in the preseason where somebody makes a hit, and it's like, okay, good hit, but no one was blocking you. Jalen Graham made a really nice play in the backfield tonight. My first college football game of the year will be. Somebody just asked. Robert just asked. For those of you listening, like, why did you bring that? Why do you keep bringing that up, man? Well, I appreciate you guys asking. Big Ten Network is where you're going to see me mostly this year. Week 1, it'll be Idaho at Oregon. I'll be doing that game on Big Ten Network. Week 2, I will be at USC, Utah State at USC. So, I mean, I'm fired up, man. Oregon week 1, USC week 2, and then I'm really excited. Week 3, I'll be at Nebraska, Northern Iowa at Nebraska. All of those games on Big Ten Network. So you can watch there. Tweet at Big Ten Network. Say you like it. Every time you tweeted them or tag them in an Instagram post, they gave me $1,000. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay.